Islam, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Moorish Light. The Revolution is a podcast. And of course, we will start off with prayer, the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. And once again, welcome Islam and welcome to the Moorish Light, giving praises to the causeless cause and the rootless root from which all things have grown, the great God Allah. I honor the last prophet in this dispensation, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the first, second, and third form. I also give honor to Grand Sheikh John Givenzeal, who steadfastly built upon the foundation laid by the founder. Honors are extended as well to modern day Moses and Aaron, Grand Sheikh Timothy, and Richardson Dingle Eel, who confronted Pharaoh and established a means for our people to be registered and set free. I acknowledge the forefathers who sacrificed their lives so that this nation might or must experience a true birth of freedom. Honors to my home temple at 1055 North Milton Avenue, as well as our sister temple at 2900 West Pressman Street. Honors to Grand Sheik, honors to Grand Sheikess, National Grand Sheikess of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, Tiffany Jones Bay, the Supreme Grand Sheik and Sheikess Pratha Eam, and honor to all those who are listening today or in the future. So, as always, I always start my program off reading from the Holy Quran of Mecca. So, I'm going to find that first and then I'll share. I don't think I did. I got to do it the other way around. My sword disappeared. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Okay, what's the problem? Oh, there we go. So we're going to be reading from Surah 23, ayats 51 through 54. Okay, right here. And the name, this is Surah 23, and the name of this surah is Al Mu'min, the Believers. And this is largest, so I can make sure that you can see. I'll enlarge it as much as I can. Ayat 51 says, O ye messengers, enjoy, and we'll look at footnote 2908, all things good and pure, and work righteousness, for I am well acquainted with all that you do. And the footnote says literally, eat. See note 776 to 566. The prophets of Allah do not pose as ascetics, but receive gratefully Allah's gifts and show their gratitude by their righteous lives. And verily, this brotherhood of yours is a single brotherhood, and I am your Lord and cherisher, therefore fear me and no other. All prophets form one brotherhood. Their message is one, their religion and teachings are one. They serve the one true God who loves and cherishes them, and they owe their duty to Him and Him alone. So, um, as we go through this lesson, you cannot do more science without Islamism. You cannot do more science without Allah. You can't do it. It was because Moorish science is a divine revelation that came through the great God Allah by His prophet. So for you to do anything other than that is hypocritical. But let's read a little more. 53 says, but people have cut off their affair of unity between them into sects, and each party rejoices in that which is with itself. So instead of dealing with Moorish science holistically, we grab a piece and we hold on to that piece. We try to make that piece all of Moorish science, which is impossible. You can't grasp Moorish science without grasping all 5 disciplines that Moorish science teaches. So if the Holy Quran tells you not to have sex, then the Moorish Science Temple is bound by that same law. It says the people began to trade on names of the prophets and cut off that unity made sex. You know what? I'm going to do something for myself here because I can't. Let me close that. See, when I know I don't know something, I go get some help. Okay, sexed. I got it now. Okay, let me go back to the Holy Quran. Sexed. Okay. It says the people who began to trade on the names of the prophets cut off that unity and made sects, and each sect rejoices in its own narrow doctrine instead of taking the universal teachings of unity from Allah. But this sectarian confusion is of man's making. It will last for a time, but the rays of truth and unity will finally dissipate it. So, we're going to look at some of that today. How has this affected the Moorish Divine and National Movement? But before we go all the way into that, we're going to first go into our Moorish literature. Oh, I was in the wrong space. I did already have it up. And let's hear what the prophet has to say. So first we're going to go to the origin, which is in the Moorish Leader's historical message. It's here. I know it's here. Oops, I went past it then. And this is essential so people can have a basic understanding of what our movement is, because y'all putting a lot of stuff out, and the simplicity of more science is starting to go amiss. I think it's right here. Okay. It says we organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year 1925 and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29th, 1926. Now, under the Moorish Temple of Science, the prophet taught civics, helping us to hopefully, hoping that we would gather together and get some people in office and learn what citizenship is and to get some things done. But then he said the name Moorish Temple of Science was changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America, May 1928. We need to understand the difference between the Moorish Temple of Science and the Moorish Science Temple of America, 1928. The Moorish Temple of Science does what? It taught civics, it taught religion, but then the prophet had to take it to the next step. And in the next step, he changed it to the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science now has become what we would call a science, actually. A science with 5 different branches of study. A lot of the moles didn't move with the prophet because a lot of us got stuck in religion and we didn't move with the prophet. The prophet never stopped moving. We just never bothered to keep up. He says, in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of the State of Illinois, the object of our organization is to help in a great program of uplifting humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. So there's 2 things here that needs to happen. Oops. Lost my place. So I'm going to take that as a hint. And I'm going to keep moving now. So as we look at how the prophet's moving, and that is what he's doing, he's moving. He didn't set up a stagnant movement. And a lot of us get confused when the prophet says that this is a religious corporation. That doesn't mean that it's not a divine and national movement. But let's go a little further here. And we're going to go to the prophet's comments. He makes a couple of comments. And the divine warning. I keep clicking off this, I don't know why. But in the divine warning for the nations, and if you have a Moorish literature, you can go check it out for yourself. He says, there is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine and national movement. He says again, the Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. Our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. Now, if you're ever in my class, I'll make that footsteps, hands, whatever, in order to understand you need both to make noise. You need both to tell the truth. There should not be all these variations of Moorish signs. Now, the prophet is very clear when he tells you if you don't like his apples, don't shake his tree. He's very clear about that. How does he tell us that? He has a message that he sends out for governors to read in all for governors to read in all meetings, and I'm going to get to it. Give me a second. I haven't figured out how to. And in this Moorish literature, he tells us exactly how to run this movement. He says, all true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found. What is examples of losing confidence in the prophet? How do we know that that exists? So the tool I'm going to use to help talk about that today, I'm going to use AI, and I don't agree with everything AI says, but some things are true. And so I got to make sure I go to the right space. Um, so I try to make sure I have all my little evidence here that I'm dealing with. So before I go there, let me go to the Constitution of the United States. And Article 1, Section 10 says, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills, or make anything but gold and silver coin as a tender in payment of debts. Why am I reading that? Oh, let me finish. Pass any bills attain an ex post facto law or laws requiring obligation of contracts or grant title of nobility. So, the Moorish Science Temple isn't set up to divide. It's not set up that way. The only way you can follow Act 7 is to be in the Moorish Science Temple. That's the only way you can get the title of faithful. The only way you can get educated in the Moorish Science Temple is through Act 6. We learn our divine as well as historical lessons through the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple. So who are you to take the fez, the turban, the button, and the literature and do your own thing? For example, let's see. So I went on in Google and I pulled some stuff up. Here's the original nationality card. Here now we have the Great Seal of the Moorish nation and Ali's Moroccan Empire. Now all this comes from Lessons of the Moorish Science Temple. Sovereignty, theocratic government, We have the Moorish National Republic of Peace. I'm just trying to understand, Mose. What are we doing? How are we not respecting our own salvation? Another Moorish National Republic of Peace. Just making up stuff. Because we go back to the original statement of the prophet, and he clearly says there's only one way. Here's religious autonomy, Moorish American Republic. So when people go to look for the Moorish Science Temple, they've got Moorish sovereign citizens, the Moorish roots of black America. Come on, what is going on? So I think it's important to warn people that the Moorish Science Temple, Divine and National Movement, is still the Moorish Science Temple, Divine and National Movement. It is not the Moorish American National Government. And on here, we've gotten so bold enough, we done changed the flag, changed the symbols of the prophet. Come on. How bodacious are we? And we grab a fragment of Moorish science and we do our own thing. That's not how that works. And as I go down here, I just see more stuff. The Aladoil nations and just this is not necessary. That's that plantation mentality, if I've ever seen it. And in the plantation, uh, mentality, Willie Lynch says he uses three things: fear, distrust, and envy. So either we love the prophet and we obey the law, or we're envious of the prophet and our ego tells us we need to improve it, what the prophet brought. So I'm going to warn people. Maybe y'all can sit. I don't silence. I'm not going to give silence gives consent. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be silent because our people need their salvation. And I'm not going to sit back and not let people know this is truth too. Truth can be ugly, it can be beautiful, and it can be bloody, but it is still the truth. And we must recognize the truth. Here we go. Here's another variation. This is, and they say this is the Moorish flag, but that's not the flag that the prophet brought us. Our lesson say, what kind of flag is the Moorish? It is a red flag with a five-pointed green star in the center. What do the 5 points represent? Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, all these emblems apply to our lessons, but they are not supposed to represent the Moorish Science Temple. This is the Moorish American government. Look at here. It's called MAG, Moorish American Government. Who authorized the Moorish American government? Here we got an Al Moroccan Empire for Al Morocco AMENA government. Moorish National Republic, federal government, Northwest Africa, I'm right here. Amexium, North America. Oh Lord, now we got something black with a white star in it. Rose. People, please understand, a lot of this is not founded in the foundation of our movement. And the Worst part about it, they say they hook it up right up with the prophet, like he had something to do with it, and he did not. He had nothing to do with this. Now, just for clarity, let's see what the prophet did bring. Now, uh, oh wait a minute, this is the ancient Moorish temple. Every time I think I'm getting away, I'm getting deeper in. But I need you most to wake up and pay attention. These are some of the temples. We're even to a point where I want to blow this picture up for a minute. Let me see. This might take me someplace I really don't want to go, and it did. So let's go back, because that's not what I'm trying to do today. I'm not trying to hold court, or I'm just trying to let people know that simply what the prophet was. Matter of fact, let's see. Let's go to a picture of the prophet. And I'm going to a particular picture. See if I can blow this picture up. Trying to blow the picture up. Let's see. Okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Has anybody ever taken the time to realize that in this picture the prophet has sealed the flags with his image? So, some will say he was dealing with people outside. No, he is instructing and teaching right in your face, and he sealed these flags to read Moorish American. At some point in time, somewhere, somehow, the flags got flipped because somehow we did not follow into the footsteps of the prophet. So they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. So let's move. Um, let's move a little further. It's done the Constitution. So I tried to set everything up so that I can take you through this, because you don't really need to look at me. I, I, I'm just a mere point of reference. So let's look at caveat and emptor. This tells us what modes are supposed to be. And I'm going to read that. Caveat emptor. Moors are men upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. It didn't say follow the grand sheik, it said follow the prophet. Because when you follow the prophet, if your grand sheik gets off course, you can grab him by the coattail and say, Islamo, this is what we need to be doing. Because even grand sheiks, grand sheikesses, divine ministers need their coattail pulled to put them back in accord. They are not above correction. but do it in an intelligent way. Now, these are. Let me read a little further. It says they are fortified by the impregnable doctrine. Impregnable. That means you can't change it. You can't break it down. You can't tear it up. Because, see, that's what some people think they're doing. But it's impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest heights for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such realm. Everybody got a fast on is not talking more science. Everybody got a fast on, and if they rely more on their research than they do on the words of the prophet, they not doing more science. It says, and it says, smelly culprits. Yes, smelly culprits out there teaching the people your philosophy, your research, your thing, and then adding the prophet to your nonsense. Because the truth ain't gonna change because you got here. It says they try and try, but their own bad planning bring down the wrath upon their heads, like the sword of old Damocles had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. You always on the outside looking in, trying to tell us what to do. Another tactic that's used by Moors in order to hinder us is the practice of segregation. Oh, you can't talk to that, Mo. Oh, you can't talk to that, Mo. Oh, he under that leadership. Oh, she under that leadership. Who your grand sheep? Some Moors are even given order not to move outside of their temple and deal with other Moors. And it's not that their hearts aren't, but they're going to follow the leader. It says, this is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. This is defense time. Yeah, this is defense time. Just to let you know. You've been getting by, but you're not going to get away. It says Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active and not passive. A member's interest can only be in one direction. And having traveled over the road years before, the prophet knows where every member is along the road. The prophet is not dead. The spirit of the prophet is much alive. But you got to be willing to walk in his footsteps. You might even have to stand alone. You might even have to be in isolation. You might have to be muted. You might have to change your seat because somebody complained about you sitting in a chair. Let me tell you, I have been in the Moorish Science Temple for years, and I have gone through some things. Don't say you won't be tried and tested because you will. It says a few feet below is another road. Well, let's talk about that road. That road crowded. Where schemers walk, where traitors grin and culprits bask in the sun. They think they are on the same road with the true Moors. But the Moors are high above on a pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers flying high catch scent and devour, and leave crying out caveat emptor, cast out the dead carcass. The Moors are high above. See these plotters, purveyors, the worst that exists, hurl themselves downward by their own works. Let's read that again. The Moors, the Moors high above, the Moors high above. See, the Moors high above. See these plotters, purveyors, the worst that exists, hurl themselves down by their own works as the hawks wait. So as you doing all that you doing, Allah is merciful and He gives you grace in order to get yourself back in line with the Prophet. Of course, this is by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He gives you time to get yourself back in line with the Prophet. So all these variations out here. So what I did was I went to AI. Let me see, is this one yeah. And I said, well, let's see what AI got to say. It says there are two primary categories of Moorish organizations: the religious and nationalist, Moorish Science Temple of America, MSTFA, the extremist, anti government Moorish Sovereign Citizens Movement. The two are distinct, and the MSTFA has formally disavowed the actions and ideologies of the Moorish sovereign citizens. I'm going to read what it says. It says Noble Drew Ali taught black Americans are descendants of the Moabites and are Moorish by nationality and Islamic by faith. The MST of A was intended to provide a new identity for black people in America and to uplift humanity through the teachings of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Followers uses the suffix "il" or "bay" in their names to signify their Moorish heritage and new identity, which is actually an old identity. Men often wear fezzes and women wear turbans. Sometimes you need to stop and check out what people are saying about your movement. It says the movement rapidly expanded in the 1920s, particularly in northern cities that experienced a large influx of black, I'm reading what it says, black migrants. After Noble Drew Ali's death in 1929, the organization fractured into competing factions. Now, then they go on to talk about the sovereign. It says it emerges in the 1990s. The Moorish Sovereign Citizen Movement is an offshoot of anti-government sovereign citizens movement, mixing its ideology with the MST of A teachings. Government illegitimacy adherents believe they are exempt from U.S. federal state laws, which they claim are illegitimate. Immunity claims some members cite the 1787 treaty of peace and friendship with Morocco as a basis of claiming special immunities and privileges as Moorish or Moroccan citizens. Now, I didn't write any of this. The Southern Poverty Law Center classifies Moorish sovereign citizens as extremist anti-government group. Their tactics often include illegal activities that lead to confrontation with law enforcement, terrorists, and criminal fraud. I'm presenting these to you. That's what my job is. My job is to present the facts. What you determine out of it is on you. But I'm really tired of Moors. We sitting here all passive and full of love and peace. But people need to know the truth. Let's see. And I looked it up in different ways. I just didn't stop. It's supposed to be right there. Lost my space here. I looked it up in different ways so that that's what I just read to you. And and if you ask different questions, you kind of get different answers when you're dealing with AI. So it says the Moorish Science Temple of America is a spiritual and cultural movement founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali in 1913, teaching that African Americans are descendants from the ancient Moabite and should embrace their true Moorish heritage and Islamic faith. And see, started off fine, but then it says the movement combines aspects of Islam and Christianity, promoting the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, encouraging moral living, lawful citizenship, and a distinct national identity for its members, often represented by their own identification cards. The majority of it's true. Then you have the Moorish Science Temple, the history from Wikipedia. Another one that I looked up said that the Nation of Islam came from the Moorish Science Temple. Not what Sister Seabreeze Bay said. I'm just saying people need to read. You truly, truly need to read. So if you want to know about the Moorish Science Temple, you should come to the Moorish Science Temple. One of the key factors every Moorish American should read and understand is the divine warning by the prophet. And I'll continue this, but it'll be in a different kind of way. But the one thing I want you to be clear about, that the Moorish Science Temple has 5 disciplines that we teach from: moral discipline, divine discipline, not necessarily in this order, and sometimes they intertwine, constitutional discipline, historical, and national. Those are the 5 disciplines of Moorish science. So when the prophet moved from 1926 to 1928, he began to teach us about citizens, being a citizen. You know, teach us, see, some of us stop at to teach those things to make us better citizens. But we needed to understand what it meant to be a citizen. And a lot of us did not get that clearly. We need to understand basically why our flag should say Moorish American and not American Moorish. Would you put the Father before the Son? Is the question you need to ask yourself. Second paragraph of the divine warning by the prophet for the nations. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah. See who he was prepared by? Y'all see that? By the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways, go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders, receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and comes only meaning there is no other way. You can't make nothing up and make it better. Comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in the government and recognized by all other nations of the earth, of the world. So if it's already recognized, don't you think somebody waiting for us to stand up and represent it properly? It didn't get recognized because you were born. It was recognized before you were born. So we need to fall in line with the prophet. We need to fall in line with Acts 6 and 7. We need to fall in line with the Moorish literature. We need to fall in line with the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple. We need to fall in line with the Holy Quran of Mecca. We need to get in line behind Prophet Noble Drew Ali and get this job finished. You don't have to imitate the so-called Negroes. You don't have to do what they do. You need to do for we need to do for ourselves. Do we need schools? We need curriculum. That's what we need. You can take a curriculum anywhere. You can't take a school everywhere, but you can take a curriculum anywhere. We can petition this government for what is truly due us as a people. We can't just hide and pray. We've got to take action. So, in closing, and getting close to closing, actual Freedom Day next year, September the 26th, 2026. It would be wonderful because I know a lot of moves. I get up under your skin. I know I rub you the wrong way, but it's all in love. If you came near me, you know it's love. I would love to see, and I'm going to say 10,000 Moorish Americans come into D.C. and flood that city with turbans and fezzes instead of over here in your little second and this little second. We don't need to do that. It's time we made a loud noise and all sang in harmony to gain what's due us as a nation. So I plead with you. I plead with you to prepare for September the 26th, 2026. Because we're going to be doing some different things in this new year. We will not be stagnant. We will not allow all our little cronies, or whatever you want to call them, outside the movement to act like they in charge, because you are not in charge. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is still in charge of this movement. I don't care what title you carry. And through Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Allah is leading on and victory is sure. So, in closing, I just got to go to this. I should have read a poem, but I didn't. I don't have enough time there. I'm not going to try to. Oh, maybe I do. Because I want us to get these instructions. And see, when you look at Moorish science from this perspective, you're talking to all the people, European, Asiatic, Europeans and Asiatics, because everybody suffered because of this great conspiracy to keep us on the mental plantation. And one of the things I posted today on the mental plantation, the tools are envy, distrust, and fear. The principles are hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. And it functions on the motive of divide and conquer. We can't, more Americans, we should never be victims of that. Never. And I'm reading this only because of the spirit that goes along with it. And it says, 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We come here to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men living and dead, the forefathers that we fail to recognize, who struggled here, have consecrated far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, no longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, but that this nation, under God Allah, shall have a new birth of freedom, a true birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. And we are the people. Now, there's a lot more I could say, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to invite you to Divine and National Instruction classes, Sundays from 10:15 to 11:45. I invite sisters out on Thursdays for 1 hour, 8 to 9, to study Divine and National, to prepare us to help keep our movement going where it needs to go. Um, I invite you to join us at 1055 North Milton Avenue. Sundays from 12 to 2, Fridays from 8 to 10. Also, we have another program, the Moorish Sense, you can listen to. They do post when they're going to have a session. You can also, here in Baltimore, we also have 2900 West Pressman Street, uh, where you can attend meetings. You can also go on our moorishhistoryandlaw.net page, which I'm opening up now, and temple locations are there. Let's see. I've told you about our Baltimore temples. Let me share. New York, we have Grand Sheik William A. Garrison Bay at 39A Hill Street. Their meetings are Friday 8 to 10 and Sundays 12 to 2. We have Grand Sheik Emmanuel Dr. Eel. Um, he's at 21 Dash Street. And we have our North Carolina Temple, which is at 1401 Diggs Avenue, Suite F. Our Georgia Temple, Grand Sheik Charles Brown Eel at 3480 Greenbrier Park Southway. Their meetings are Friday 8 to 10, Sunday school 1 to 3. And Indiana, Grand Sheik Rasul Hassan Bay. Um, so there are places you can go, and a lot of our meetings are on our live, so you also are able to attend that way. In person is always better. It's easier to interact. But of course, we've come down to the last 5 minutes of what I have to say for today. And I would just ask that you embrace the prophet, embrace Allah, embrace divine and national, embrace one another, and embrace the mission. And so I thank you. I appreciate you for listening to the Moorish Light Continues. The Revolution is a podcast. And I invite you to please share. Oh, and I have to make sure we get that on here. I also have the Science of More Science YouTube station, Sheila Seabreeze Bay. You can go there as well. And you can listen to previous shows as well as other programs and things that we have done. So, of course, we're down to those last very few minutes. And I cannot express to you enough the blessings and pleasures of teaching more science the prophet's way. Not my way, not your way, but the prophet's way. Um, so, I'm going to have to get our little light segment back. I got to get my co host to send me that so I can make sure I incorporate that in this podcast. Um, So I like to thank all of those Mo's who actually came out with me for actual Freedom Day. That would be, see, I forgot. I just remembered this. That would be Grand Sheik is Tiffany Jones Bay. Grand Sheik and Sheik is Prather Eel. Sheik and Sheik is Valance Bay. Sheik Joyner Eel and Prince Joyner Eel. Sheik Travis Eel. Sheik Kahin Carter Bay. And like I said, we starting early next year because we need some more participants. The world, you don't realize that the world is at the Lincoln Memorial. You may not understand that, but it is. Um, and so, Moors, you need to represent. I'll stand alone and teach. It doesn't make me a difference. But since I decided to go this further, I'm going to once again thank you and appreciate you for tuning in. In love and understanding, sharing with you, the Moorish Light continues. The revolution is a podcast. Islam and peace.